Part 1, Unit 11, Gateway. In the summer of 1972, the actor Anthony Hopkins was signed to play a leading role in a film based on George Pfeiffer's novel, The Girl from Petrovka. That is why he traveled to London to buy a copy of the book. Unfortunately, none of the main London bookstores had a copy. Then, on his way home, waiting for an underground train at Leicester Square tube station, he saw a discarded book lying on the seat next to him. It was a copy of The Girl from Petrovka. As if that was not coincidence enough, more was to follow. Later, when he had a chance to meet the author, Hopkins told him about this strange occurrence. Pfeiffer was interested. He said to him that in November 1971, he had lent a friend a copy of the book, a unique copy in which he had made notes on turning the British English into American English for the publication of an American version. But his friend had lost the copy in London. A quick check of the copy Hopkins had found showed that it was the very same copy that his friend had mislaid. Exercise 1. Victor Frankenstein decided to take lifeless items and make them come alive. He went to slaughterhouses, graveyards, and even coroner's offices to steal what he needed for his creation. He then put all of his materials together and brought his creature to life. This lifeless, dead entity did come alive. His goal was to take this monster and give it life. Well, he did it. He created it, and these days we know it by his last name, Frankenstein. What he didn't know is that he had created a beast. The tragedy of Frankenstein is that after he was created, after he was given life, after he was nothing and then made into something, he turned on Victor and made his maker a victim of his own creation. Frankenstein became a monster because he took the life that was given him and used it for his own purpose. Exercise 2. Samuel Phelps once got into financial trouble, and he applied to fellow actor William Charles Macready for help. Mr. Macready asked him first why he had gotten into debt, and second, how much he owed. The answers to both questions were lacking, as Mr. Phelps said that he couldn't help getting into debt and that he didn't know how much he owed. Mr. Macready sent him away, telling him to return the next day with a full accounting of his debts. He did so, and returned with a list of debts totaling £400. Mr. Macready then gave him a check for £450, and his beautiful smile to go with it. The check was timely. Mr. Phelps was arrested for debt almost immediately, and since he had the check in his hand, he was able to tell the bailiff to take him to the bank so he could get the money to pay his debts. Exercise 3. Whenever Degas came across one of his paintings that someone had bought, he would want to make changes to it. One pastel that disturbed him was owned by his friend Henri Rouart. After seeing it again and again, whenever he came to visit, Degas finally persuaded Rouart to let him take it back for corrections. Rouart was very fond of the pastel, but Degas wore him out with his persistence. After some time, his friend asked Degas about his beloved pastel. But the artist always put him off with one excuse or another. Finally, Degas had to confess that his little retouch had become a disaster, and the pastel was completely destroyed. To make up for the loss, Degas gave Rouart a new painting titled Dancers at the Bar. Exercise 4. Lord Duveen was the most famous art dealer of his time. Finally receiving an audience from J.P. Morgan, Duveen went into the presence of Morgan in his luxurious mansion on Fifth Avenue. Without a greeting, Morgan pointed to 5 large vases on his marble floor and told Duveen that 3 were 16th century Ming masterpieces, and the other 2 exact copies that had cost him a fortune to have made. He commanded Duveen to study the vases and tell him which were the copies and which were the invaluable originals. Lord Duveen walked up to the vases, hardly glancing at them, raised his pearl-handled cane, and with 2 violent strokes smashed 2 of them to smithereens. From that moment, every painting and art object that J.P. Morgan collected until the day he died, he bought from the great English salesman.